This morning. Uh, this is the DOB Now Licensing Fall 2024 release, HMO Licenses Industry Session. So some of the best practices have already been covered by Diego, but just to make sure everyone's clear, there is a Q&A feature that you can ask questions. You will remain muted for the entirety of my presentation. At the end, there should be time to ask questions and you will be unmuted if you get the chance. Please do ask your questions. We take them seriously. We're going to answer as many as we can while the session is going on. It is possible that you will ask a question that we'll need to research, and if that happens, we'll get back to you on that. Well, questions that we can't answer immediately, we'll put in what's called the parking lot, and we'll get back to you on how that is. We do want to make sure these trainings are as valuable as possible. So if a survey is sent out afterwards, I'm not sure if that's going to happen for this training. Please answer it, and please make sure that you let us know about the questions and concept and concerns you have. So let's get started. Here's what we're going to cover in today's training. We're going to start with an overview of the hoisting machine operator licenses and the different types of them. And then we're going to cover a new feature on the public portal, which is the public portal application search. We're going to briefly touch on required documents, statuses, licensing fees, and then I'll talk about the license process flow, how your license requests are going to be processed internally within DOB. We'll talk briefly about how to log into DOB Now licensing, and then I'll go through the new license application process. I'm both going to show that to you in the PowerPoint that you see now, and you're going to get a chance to see it in the live system. I'll talk about how to respond to objections and how to request reconsideration, which is a new feature. And then we'll talk about what happens when your license application is approved and how you get the license. Once you have a license, there are some features that you can manage through DOB Now licensing. Specifically, you can renew your license, you can get your license reissued, you can change your named agent, you can update business information, and specifically for HMO licenses, you can update designations or add HMO B ratings if you have a B license. We'll talk about managing profile tasks, and then I've got a couple of important notes at the end before we get to questions and answers. Let's jump right in. A hoisting machine operator license is required to operate certain cranes in New York City. HMO licenses are issued by the New York City Department of Buildings, and it will be issued through DOB Now, its self-service online tool. If you're not sure about how to register for a DOB Now account, you can check out nyc.gov/DOB Now tips. One thing I want to point out is that I'm not sure if it's up yet, but there will be a copy of this presentation on the DOB Now resources page, and I'll show that to you. And you can download a copy, and that's something that I encourage you to do so you have this as reference. So as of October 16th, 2024, all HMO license-related transactions will be done in DOB Now licensing instead of DOB Now biz options. And I want to make this clear. If you submit a request for something related to your HMO license, if that request is submitted prior to October 16th, then you will be submitting it through DOB Now biz options, and it will remain in DOB Now biz options until the request is processed. Any requests that are submitted on or after October 16th will be submitted through DOB Now licensing and will remain in DOB Now licensing. And as I said, if an application has been submitted and is under review in DOB Now biz options, it will continue and does not need to be refiled in DOB Now licensing. Beginning November 7th, 2024, an HMO license issued by DOB will be required to operate an articulating boom crane, mini crane, or rotating telehandler in New York City. These are what we're referring to as the new limited licenses. If you have any questions, there's links here to the New York City Administrative Code and the New York City Building Code. Individuals who submit an application for a limited HMO license for those machines before November 7th, 2024, and those applications must be in DOB Now licensing, will be permitted to continue operating the hoisting machine for which they submitted a license application while their application is pending. Beginning on the same date, individuals who have neither a pending application nor a DOB-issued HMO license will only be able to operate one of these machines if they are supervised by a licensed HMO with a DOB-issued license. And if the date of November 7th, 2024 should happen to be updated, you will see a service notice posted related to that. So in DOB Now licensing, there are 8 HMO license classes, and that includes the 3 new limited licenses and the 5 originally that were in biz options. Now, we have changed the name of some of these. So in biz options, there was Class B, Class A, and then Class C1, Class C2, and Class C3. Class C1 has been renamed to Class C. Class C2 has been renamed to Limited License for Boom Trucks, and Class C3 has been renamed to Limited License for Sign Hanging Cranes. These 3 licenses have new titles, but the qualifications and requirements are the same as their previous titles. And then on top of that, we have the 3 new limited licenses that I discussed on the last slide, articulating boom cranes, for mini cranes, and for telehandlers. In order to become an NYC licensed hoisting machine operator, applicants are required to meet the license criteria, things like age, language, and experience. I'll talk about that more on the next slide. They are also required to pass the appropriate National Commission for the Certification of Crane Operators examinations. They need to begin the application in DOB Now licensing as of the 16th. They will need to upload all required documentation. They will need to pay the new license and background investigation fees at the time that they submit the license. And then they will submit their license application. Once DOB approves the application, an appointment is scheduled, and you'll schedule that through DOB Now licensing as well, to get your photo taken and to pick up your license card. And HMO licenses are valid for 3 years. Now, the qualifications that applicants are required to meet are: they must be at least 18 years old. They must be able to read and write the English language. They must be fit to perform the work authorized by the license. They must have good moral character. And they need to have the minimum required experience operating a hoisting machine for the number of years and under the conditions that are specified for your license class. This includes conditions such as supervision directly by a licensed hoisting machine operator of a specific class, the type, size, capacity, and so forth of the machine, and the location or setting, which needs to be New York City or an urban area of comparable density, and it must be at a job site, crane yard, or training center, or so forth. In addition, there are designations. These are additional certifications to operate specific types of machines. You will be required to include details of your designations when you're applying for, updating, or renewing your license. And there are required designations for each license type. For example, for Class B licenses, you must have designations for lattice boom truck cranes, lattice boom crawler cranes, telescopic boom cranes with a swing cab and with a fixed cab, lattice boom cranes, and tower cranes. Now, I'm not going to go through every license type and, every license class and review exactly which designations are required. This is why I encourage you to get a copy of this presentation. But on this slide and the following one, we do list out the required designations for each license class. Let's talk briefly about the HMO license classification and the different levels of license classifications. Class B is the highest ranking license, then Class A, then Class C. You must have a Class A license before you can apply for a Class B license. The system will actually stop you if you do not have it. An operator can hold or apply for only one Class B, Class A, or Class C license at a time. For example, a Class C licensee can apply for a Class A license. On approval, the licensee's current license will become a Class A license, and they will no longer hold a Class C license. Now, for the 5 limited licenses, an operator can hold one or more at the same time. So you can hold up to 5 of these at the same time because there are 5 of them. In general, higher classes can operate all machines in the lower classes. So Class A, B, or C can operate all machines within the limited license classes. So this talks about what the restrictions are on each license. So for example, down here at the bottom, the limited license for telehandlers. They can use hoisting machines up to 50 tons. The boom length can be up to 200 feet, but it must be a telehandler. Now, going up to license Class B, the capacity is unlimited, the boom length is unlimited, and there are no type restrictions. If you have a Class B license, you can operate any type of hoisting machine within New York City. And then there are the specifics in between. Now, I wanted to on some things that I'm not going to go into in detail, specifically things like documents. We're not going into this in this presentation, but an overview of what documents are required for new license applications, renewals, and reissues can be found in the required documents spreadsheet. This is a link, and it will take you to the spreadsheet for the required documents. So if you'll notice this is for all of the license types that are being issued as part of this release. So the site safety licenses, the HMO licenses, and the lift director licenses. So it lists all of the requirements. One thing I want to point out is specific to the 3 new HMO limited licenses, because how you submit your experience, how you submit details about your experience is going to depend on when you submit your request for the license. Prior to November 7th, the experience verification form within the application is optional, but the experience affidavit document is required. You do not, however, need to submit a document called experience verification forms. And then that changes depending on the date. So this will have all of the details about what is required. I will note that the system will also tell you exactly what is required and what is optional. And I'll talk about how to see that when we get there. You can also see in here the requirements for renewals, for business changes, for updating designations, and so forth. Now, one of the things Diego mentioned is the DOB Now licensing resources page. I do want to show this to you. So on the DOB license resources page, you will be able to see presentations for each of the types of licenses, including the presentation that I'm giving you now, the hoisting machine operator. This is the PowerPoint. You'll be able to see step-by-step and resource guides. There are some video tutorials for slightly older stuff, and there are some additional information materials. I'm going to close these tabs and go back to my presentation. So I highly encourage you to download a copy of this presentation so that you have links to all of this. Now, statuses similarly are found in the licensing statuses document, which I'll show you briefly. This tells you what status you're going to see on DOB Now licensing, excuse me, and what each one means. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but you can look through it there. Fees, similarly, I'm not going to go into a lot of details. There is a licensing fees document, which has all of the fees for the different types of licenses that DOB issues, through DOB Now licensing, I should say. But one thing I do want to note has to do with late fees. Late fees are listed in the document, but it's important to note that late fees for license renewal apply if the renewal request is filed 30 days or fewer before the expiration date of the license, or up to 1 year after the expiration date of the license. During those time periods, you can still request renewal, but there will be a late fee added. Now let's talk about the process flow, the steps to get a license. So these are the steps for applying to any of these HMO licenses. You must start by completing the application, paying the fee, and submitting your request in DOB Now licensing. From there, DOB will complete a background check. And after the background check is done, assuming everything goes well, DOB will approve your license application. Once your license application is approved, you're going to need to go back into DOB Now licensing to schedule an appointment to come into the office and get your license card. The license card will be issued at that appointment, which you must do in person. The public portal application search is a new feature that you're going to find very useful as you start submitting some of these applications. If you go to the main DOB Now page, you will see that one of the options here is application search. If you click on this, and you do not need to log in for this, this is the public portal. You can then search for DOB Now permits by applicant, or you can search by DOB Now licensing application number. And this will allow you to see the progress of your license request. If you put in a license application number, you're going to see a pop-up that looks like this. It will give you the details of the application status. In this particular case, it's been approved, the license type, and the class or class type, if it's applicable. It isn't for Lift Director, but it is for HMO licenses, and the modified date. So you will always be able to see your application status, even without logging into DOB Now. So let's talk about how you log into DOB Now licensing. In case you haven't logged in since June, DOB Now integrated with NYCID in June 2024, so now all returning and new users must have an NYCID account to log into DOB Now. The process to create an NYCID account is pretty simple. It's a one-time process, whether you're an existing user or a new user. If you currently have a DOB Now login, but don't have an NYCID, you're going to go to log into DOB Now, and it'll bring you over to the site to create an account with NYCID. You'll create your account. You'll get an email, a confirmation email that you need to click on in order to activate your account. And once you do that, you'll be able to log in and handle everything just as before. Now, if you're a new user, there is an extra step. You need to log into DOB Now, or attempt to, create your account on NYCID, confirm your email. All of that is the same. You're then going to go to log into DOB Now. And from there, you'll be taken to a point where you need to create a profile. Creating a profile allows you to associate licenses that you already have with the DOB Now and NYCID profile. So if you already have a license, you'll put that in there, and otherwise you'll say, I don't have a license. Again, this is a one-time process. Once you create your profile, you'll be able to go straight into DOB Now and to your dashboard. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the DOB Now login page, and it'll look like this. You enter your email and you click login. Note, if you need an NYCID, you can click here to create an account. Or you can put your email in and it will take you to the same website. And it will direct you over to the NYCID website to create the login. If you need any step-by-step guides or videos, we have that on nyc.gov/DOBNowTips. Once you have your login, you can go and take action within the system. We're going to start by talking about how to apply for a new license. This is called the license qualification application process. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to log into DOB Now, and you're going to hover over the DOB Now licensing module. You'll see a page with different modules on it. You'll hover over the DOB Now licensing. And from here, we're going to select new license because we're requesting a new license. You'll be taken to the main licensing dashboard. And from there, there's a button that says plus new license. You'll click that. You then need to select the radio button next to the license type you are requesting. We're talking about hoisting machine operators today. Once you select that and click next, for hoisting machine operators, you will need to select what license class or class type you are applying for. So it'll list out all of the options. And then you'll select and click next. The supplemental investigation questionnaire will pop up. This has a list of questions, and the details of the questions will differ depending on what license type you are applying for. This is what it looks like for a hoisting machine operator. Once you've answered all the questions, you need to click submit at the bottom of the pop-up window. It's important to note, once you've submitted this questionnaire, the information you've provided on it cannot be changed. From there, you're going to be taken into the general information tab of the application. Now I'm going to take us through to the point where you click save, and then I will show you in the system. So a lot of information on the general information tab will be auto-populated, and you won't be able to change it. Things like the application type, your name, your email. Now, there is some information that may not be auto-populated. If certain information is not auto-populated, you will need to enter it. So that might include things like your home telephone number, your borough, your personal information, your date of birth and social security number, or ITIN. And you can, if you choose, enter a filing representative or preparer to identify someone who is helping you with this. Now, one of the things I want you to note is there's a red asterisk next to the names of some of the fields. That tells you that a field is required. If there is no red asterisk, the field is not required. So since not everyone has a middle initial is not a required field, but first name and last name are. Now, what if the auto-populated information is wrong, like the address? If you do not currently have a DOB issued license, the general information is going to be auto-populated from your NYC ID and your DOB Now account. So to change your name or email address, you're going to need to go up to the top of the page, and there's a person icon. You'll click on that and choose Manage/Associate Licenses. And then you'll be taken to this screen with the account details, and you will need to update your NYC ID account. There's a link there. Now, to change your address information, that's actually going to be here. Now, this is if you do not currently have a DOB Now license. If you have an existing DOB license, the general information section is going to be auto-filled from that license information. If that's wrong for whatever reason, and you need to update your name or address, then you're going to go to the Manage Profile section of this presentation. I'll get to that towards the end, but I will show you how to update your name or address for your existing licenses. Getting back to our general information tab, you will need to mark whether you're a city employee, and then you'll click Save. After clicking Save, a notification will display, and it'll tell you what information cannot be changed after saving. And you'll click Save again, and then you'll click OK on the notification. So let's try this. This is our public portal. Well, this is what the public portal will look like. This is actually a back-end system so that I can show you a demo. What you're going to do is you're going to go and put in your email address and click Login. Now, if you have not logged in before that on that day, You'll be taken to the NYCID login site where you need to enter. Now, you will only have one of these, but I have multiple accounts, so I can show you different things. You'll enter your email address and your password, and you'll click login. You'll be taken to the landing page, and you see over here where it says DOB Now Licensing, we're going to choose New License. Now, this person doesn't have any applications or requests, and they are going to start by requesting a new license. And we're going to choose Hoisting Machine Operator and click Next. Now I need to specify what license class or class type I want to choose. Note that if I try to choose Class B, it's actually going to tell me only Class A licensees can create a Class B application. But I can choose any of the others. So let's choose one and click Next. I now get the supplemental investigation questionnaire. I must answer all the questions. And then I click Submit. Note that for some of the questions, it is required. So if you're not 18 years old, you won't be able to submit. A yes is required. I got my confirmation that this can't be changed once I click Submit, and I'll click OK. Or excuse me, I'll click Yes. And in here, we get the information that is automated. So I need to enter some information. In this case, I need to enter my license use, whether you're an individual or sole proprietor, whether this is on behalf of a corporation or a partnership or a city agency. I may need to enter other information, like my house number and street name in this particular case. That shouldn't come up, but if it does, I need to enter my borough as well. Note that one of the borough options is not applicable. If you choose not applicable, the state will be editable. I need to enter my date of birth. And my social security number or ITIN. And if there's a filing representative, class 1, excuse me, or a preparer, then you will enter that information. And I need to enter if I'm a city employee. And then I click Save. I get my notification about what can't be changed. I'll say Save. It just takes a moment. And then the application has been saved. I want you to note, once your application is saved, if you go back to the dashboard, you will see your application show up on the My Applications tab. You can double click on it to re-enter. Once your application has been saved, some information is going to show up and some new sections on this tab. One is, if you have an existing DOB Now HMO license, it'll show up here in the existing license type. There will be a new section on this page for designations where you need to click plus add to enter a designation. Once you get a designation, once you click plus add, you'll get this pop-up to enter a designation. And when you click on designation description, you're going to get a list of designations. The options that show up will depend on your license type. Anything that is required for your license will appear in red, and you must add all required designations in order to proceed with your application. Anything that shows up in black is optional. You can add those if you have them, but you don't need to have them in order to get the license. You'll also need to enter the certificate number, or the designation code will be based on what description you choose, but you'll need to enter your certificate number and expiration date and click Save. Repeat this process for all designations that you have. In addition, a business information section will appear. This is an optional section. If you don't have a business, you don't need to enter it. If you have one, then you'll click plus add business information, and you'll get a pop-up that looks like this, where you can enter the business type, the name, the address, city, state, zip code, business email, and business phone. Enter that information and click Save. And you can repeat this if you have more than one business. Now, the license use information we already talked about. I already entered that, but it is required to be entered. You will also, once you have entered a business, be able to enter partner or officer information. You'll click plus add again to enter that information, and you'll get a pop-up, partner or officer information. You need to enter all information for each partner or officer of your business. The last section on the first tab is the named agent section. If you live outside of New York City, you must have a named agent. If you live within the 5 boroughs, you can choose to designate a named agent, but it is not required. So the system will ask, do you have a named agent? If you say yes, you need to enter the information and then click the checkbox to attest to the role. If you say you do not have a named agent, then there is a different attestation that you must click on, but you still must click this checkbox in order to submit your application at the end. Now, one last thing I'm going to go over before we go back to the system, and that is what shows up at the top of the page. Once your application has been saved, you're going to see a status bar, and you're also going to see this comment at the top of the page. It says, complete all required fields that have a red asterisk. Once the Save button is selected, additional sections will appear. Complete all required sections, then select the Pay Now button. After payment is submitted, select the Preview to File button to submit the application. Now, an important note, if the status bar above indicates pre-filing status, it has not been submitted to DOB for review. Only when it moves to pending background review, that's when you know it's been submitted. You're also going to see on the left, once you hit save, a license application number and 5 more tabs: background investigation, qualification/experience, child support certification, documents, and statements and signatures. So let's look at this in the system. Note that we have up here the status bar. We have that comment. We have the additional tabs. But for now, I'm going to go down to the new sections. Business information, as I said, is an optional section. But if you have a business, you can enter it. You can select your business type. You can enter your business name, the address. The reason these are showing up is because I've already filled this out before. If you have not filled this out before, it won't show up as autofill. And I want to show you all of this so I can show you the partner information. Because you can't add partner or officer information unless you have a business, at least one business listed here. So we'll click add here. And here is where we can enter names of partners or officers. And you'll need to enter name, address, phone number, the license number of the partner or officer if they have one, what % of control they have of the business, and their title. Now down here, we see designations. So when I click the drop down, it shows me what designations are required. In this particular case, it would be telescopic boom cranes with a fixed cab. So I select that and the designation code gets auto-populated. I enter my certificate number, the expiration date, and I click save. Now, if I want to add another designation, I can. Note that it no longer lists the designation that I already entered. It only lists other options. I need to enter whether I'm a city employee and whether I have a named agent. If I say no, there's one attestation. If I say yes, I need to enter my named agent information and click that attestation. Note that clicking the checkbox will fill in your name and the date automatically. We always recommend that you save your application before moving to another tab, because if something goes wrong and you haven't saved it, you're going to lose all the information you entered since the last save, much like any other computer program. Now let's talk about the next tab, and that's the background investigation tab. The first thing you need to enter is your license history. You'll click the Add History button to enter details of any license, certification, or registration that you have that was issued to you by any city or state. At least one is required in this section. And for each license, when you click +Add, you're going to need to enter your name as it appears on the license, the type of license, the license, certification, or registration number, the current status, and the expiration date, and then you'll click Save. Next, there's a question which asks, do you currently have a valid driver's license? If you say yes, you need to enter the information. If you say no, there's no information to enter. There's 2 questions below that, which ask about if any licenses or government-granted privileges have ever been denied, rescinded, revoked, surrendered, suspended, or disqualified for you. And if the answer to either of these is yes, you're going to need to explain the details in the comments. Next section below that is the personal information section, where you put in if you've ever been known by any other names. If you have, then you'll click +Add History and enter your prior name, and you'll click Save when you're done. This is what the personal information one looks like. This is you enter your prior name here, because your current name should already be on the application. 2 more questions show up below that. Have you ever been employed by a city, state, or federal government agency? And are you related to any DOB employees, including through marriage? Now, you answer those, and any yes questions either here or earlier need to be explained in the comments field. You'll then be asked to enter the full address of all residences where you've lived for 3 or more months, and you need to go back 10 years or since you graduated high school, whichever is less. So in the residence section, you'll click +Add Residence, and then the residence will pop up, and you need to enter your most recent address information and click Save, and you go from the most recent to the oldest. If you choose this is my current address, you won't have the to date in there because you're currently living there. And then you'll click OK to complete the process and repeat as many times as necessary. And then we'll get to the Qualifications and Experience tab, but let's show you the Background Investigation tab first. So first we have our license history, and I need to enter at least 1 license. So, for example, let's say I'm a construction superintendent. I would enter my information and what the current status is, and then the expiration date. I need to enter if I currently have a driver's license. If I say yes, I need to enter that information. If I say no, there's nothing to do. Whether any license applications have ever been denied to me, and whether any licenses or privileges have ever been rescinded, revoked, surrendered, or suspended, and so on. Read the question for the details. Again, if I answer yes to either of the second 2 questions, I will have to explain it in the comments. If I have been known by another name, I'll click +Add History and put in my old name. Then I need to answer if I've ever been employed by a city, state, or federal government agency. Yes or no. And note that when I click yes, comments become required. If I say no, comments are not required. And whether I'm related to any DOB employees. Then I need to enter my residences. So I start with my present address, my current address, and work backwards. Now, just to make my life easier, since this is a fake one anyway, Let's say that I've lived in my current address for longer than 10 years. I enter my street address, city, state, and zip. Excuse me. And that's the end of that tab. We're going to click Save before we go to the next tab. So on the Qualifications/Experience tab, there are 3 questions that show up at the top about convictions or fines. If you answer yes to any of these questions, then a new tab is going to appear when you save the application, and that's called the Supplemental Affidavit. That's where you're going to explain your yes answers. So the questions are, have you ever been convicted or pled guilty to an offense anywhere? Do you owe any penalties or fines to the city of New York? And does any company or business you've been associated with owe any fines, penalties, or fees to the city of New York? If you answer yes, then you're going to have to explain that in the Supplemental Affidavit tab. Below that, you're going to see employment history. Now, this is for each job you're using as qualifying experience. You're going to need to click plus add experience and enter your work history. You'll start with your current job and go in reverse chronological order. It's important to note you have to provide a valid supervisor's telephone number so that the background unit can verify your experience. This is the pop-up you'll see when you click plus add. And on the first tab, you'll enter employment information. And again, if it is your current job, you won't need a date employed to. But you'll enter the dates of the job, the company information, whether the company is still in business, and your supervisor's information. If it is not your current job, you need to answer your reason for leaving. The second tab of the employment history information pop-up is the wages detail tab. You're going to need to enter your title, the time period you had it, your wages per hour, your hours per week, and the type of work performed. And you'll click add. Now, if you've had more than one job or title at a company, then you can repeat that for other titles that you held. Once you've entered all of the appropriate information, you'll click Save to complete the entry. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is HMO license specific. This employment history, shows up for any type of license. But for HMO licenses in particular, there's an additional section called the Experience Verification Form. And this is required for all HMO licenses. And what you're going to do is click plus add experience to enter your crane work experience, including describing the machinery you operated. So once you do that, the experience verification pop-up is going to show up, and it's going to ask, do you have a DOB issued crane notice number or crane device number? If yes, then you're going to need to enter that notice number or device number and click search. Doing that will show below it, you'll see the search results. So if that is the correct, and if you need more information, you can click show details to make sure it's the correct device. If it is, you'll click the checkbox saying it's the correct device and enter your start date and end date. The day's work will be figured out by the system. The number of crane setups, the license class, and the license number of your witnesses, and whether the jib was utilized. And then you'll click Save. Again, as I said, if you choose Show Details, you'll get more information on the specific device. So I'll hide details to close that again. Now, if you do not have a crane notice number or a crane device number, you're going to get some more questions where you're going to have to enter additional information about the crane that you used. Things like, the boom type, the actual length of the boom, the maximum capacity, the units, the actual rated capacity, the carrier type, all of that will be auto-filled if we have the crane notice number or crane device number, but you will need to enter it if you don't have that. Again, you'll fill out all the required fields and click Save. And then the last thing you're going to see in this section is a read-only list of the questions that you answered when you were initiating the application, the supplemental investigation questionnaire questions. These can't be edited, but you will be able to see them here. So let's take a look at that. So we're going to go to the Qualifications and Experience tab. The first thing is the convictions and fines. If I answer yes to any of these and then click Save, a new tab is going to show up on the left, a Supplemental Affidavit tab, and that's where I have to explain those convictions and fines answers. I need to enter my employment history. Remember, this is the basic history. And then I enter all of my information. What ownership interest I have in the company, whether the company is still in business. And I need to enter all of the supervisor information. Note that if it is my current job, I will not be able to enter a reason for leaving. And over here on the Wages Detail tab, I need to enter my title, the time period that I had it, the wages per hour and hours per week, and then I need to describe the type of work performed. And then I click Add, and I can repeat that process if I had more than one title. When I'm done, I click Save. I'll get my notification that employment history has been added, and I can now see it here. Next is the experience verification form. I'm going to click plus add experience. If I have a crane notice number or crane device number, I'll enter that. This is a crane device number, so I need to choose crane device number and click search. The details for that crane will show up here. And if I'm not sure if it's correct, I can always click show details to get more information. But I'll need to enter the start date, the end date, the number of crane setups. Now, just to show you this, let's say the start date was the 1st of September and the end date was today. It automatically figures out the day's work. Number of crane setups I can enter. I need to answer this question. And then the license class of the witness and the license number of the witness. And click Save. Now, if I say that there was no crane notice number or crane device number, then I need to enter, excuse me again, I'm having allergies this morning. The crane device number, the manufacturer, the model, and the crane type need to be entered. And there's some additional information down here that I will need to enter. But I must fill out all of the required information. Note that this is where you can enter information for crane work that is outside of New York City. And you could select your state. And you'll fill in all of this information, you'll click Save. And you'll get a summary down here as you add it. Total number of years, total number of months, total number of calendar days, and the total number of crane setups. And the last thing we'll see is the answers I gave to the questions on the supplemental investigation questionnaire. We always want to click Save before going to the next section. The tab after that is the Child Support Certification tab, and there are yes/no questions. Anytime you answer yes, you're going to get some additional questions. So the first question is, are you under a court or administrative order to pay child support? If you answer yes, you have to enter your child support account number. If you enter no, there's nothing to enter. If you answered yes to the first question, the second question asking about arrears will show up and you answer yes or no to that. And I should say, then you need to select the statement that applies to you. That's the end of the child support tab. So I'm going to cover the supplemental affidavit tab as well before going back to the system, because these are both relatively short. Remember, the supplemental affidavit tab appears only if you answered yes to questions about convictions or about penalties and fines, and those questions are on the background investigation tab. And you'll need to enter your details as appropriate. If you have convictions, you would click plus add convictions. If you have penalties and fines, you would click plus add penalties and fines. So if you had convictions, here's what you're going to see when you see the plus add, when you click the plus add button. You'll need to enter the date of conviction, the charge or offense, the name of the court, the location, and the sentence or disposition. If you have a penalty or fine, you'll need to enter who the debtor is, whether it's yourself or the company, what the company is, the amount owed, and which New York City agency or authority you owe it to. And the options are sanitation, fire department, DEP, NYPD, buildings, or other. So before we get to the documents, let me show you those two tabs. The child support certification tab. Are you under a court or administrative order to pay child support? If I say no, good, I'm done. If I say yes, I need to enter my child support account number and then answer whether I owe arrears. If yes, then I need to select which statement applies to me of these four. And again, we click save before going to the next tab. I will note if you say yes about being under a court or administrative order to pay child support, there is a document that you will have to upload detailing your child support obligations. On the supplemental affidavit, remember, the reason this showed up is because on the qualifications and experience tab, I answered yes to all three of these questions. So I would then need to enter convictions. And go through all of the options. And then I would need to enter penalties and fines, who the debtor is, what company, how much is owed, and who it is owed to. Always click save before going to the next tab. Now let's talk about documents. All required documents will be listed on the Documents tab. Note that depending on how many documents you have required, you may need to go to the next page. For each document, you're going to click the Upload button to add the document. Once you click that, you're going to click Choose File to navigate to the document on your computer, and then you'll click Upload to complete the process. And you'll do that for every required document. You can also choose to add additional supporting documents, and you do that by clicking the big plus Add Document button. I'll show both of those to you. Now, if you add an additional supporting document and your license application ends up in either objections or QA failed status, during that status, you can choose to remove your additional supporting document. If you do that, that additional supporting document that was removed will appear in the Documents Removed by User section. So let me show you this tab. So you see, I've got all of my documents listed. And for each one, I need to click the Upload button, navigate to my document, click Open, and then click Upload. You get a notification that's been uploaded, and you can also tell it's uploaded because the document status changes from required to pending. We talked about the documents removed by the user. The Add Document button allows you to add additional supporting documents. And again, you navigate to the document and upload it. And it will be added to your list of documents. Now, the only documents that can be deleted are additional supporting documents. You will not have the option to delete required documents. But if you uploaded the wrong thing, you can click the Upload button again and upload the correct thing. We'll click Save before going to the next tab. On the Statements and Signature tab, you're going to need to click check boxes to sign the application. The top one is the main license application signature, but you're also going to need to complete attestations for background investigation, voluntary authorization for service of process by email. This one is voluntary. You're not required to click that one. The others you must click to attest. There's the substance abuse attestation, the authorization for service of process by agent, the statement and signature, and the child support attestation. Answer them all. So let's do that. Statements and signature tab, we see the license application. I need to click the checkbox and it will fill in my name and the date. And then the rest of them, the background investigation I must attest to. This one's voluntary, I can skip it. All of the others I must attest to. Now, at some point during this process and before you submit, you will have to pay your fees. There is a Pay Now button on the right-hand side. This toolbar on the right, the bottom one is the Pay Now button. You must pay the amount in full. Partial payment is not an option. Excuse me. Once you click that, it's going to take you to the to the New York City City Pay website. I'm not going to go through in this presentation how to submit payments through City Pay. There are step-by-step guides and video guides that you can find on the DOB Now website about how to use City Pay. Once you've got everything done and saved, you can, excuse me, you click the Preview to File button to submit your license application. Now, if you've made any errors in your application, those will get highlighted, so you fix them before you actually submit your application. Once everything is correct, you'll click Preview to File and the application preview screen will pop up. It will show you all of the information on your application. You need to review the whole thing by paging through the preview by clicking Next. Once you're on the last page, you need to scroll at the bottom of the preview pop-up. There is a checkbox that you need to click to sign the filing. Once you've done that, you can click File, and your application will move from pre-filing to pending background review, as we see here. I should note, when you click Submit, you'll get a pop-up notification telling you that it's been submitted. So the status bar will update to pending background review. You are also going to get an email telling you that your license application has been submitted and is awaiting review. In general, you're going to get emails every time, excuse me, you're going to get emails every time things change on your application. So that's another way of keeping track of what's going on. So just to show you, if I click Preview to File now, it's actually going to tell me what I haven't entered. And there will be red asterisks around the things that I need to finish. So I'm not going to demo actually submitting. Now you submit your application and it's reviewed by DOB. I want to talk about how to respond to objections and how to request reconsideration. So in general, the background unit reviewing your application has 3 options for their response. Approved means the background investigation is complete and the license application can move forward for review by the licensing unit. Objections means that there is an issue with the license application that must be addressed by the applicant before the background investigation can be completed. This can be something small or something big, depending on what it is. Uh, and then the third option is denied, which means the license application cannot be approved with the information given. If your application is denied by the background unit, you have the option to request reconsideration of the denial. Now let's talk about how to handle these. If there is an objection raised on a license application, you're going to receive a notification email about the objection. So it will tell you, for example, you uploaded the wrong document. Let's talk about a simple objection. And then you'll need to log in to make the changes and click resubmit. So you'll log into DOB Now licensing and go into your application. Once you do that, you will see a new tab showing up in your application, and that is the Objections tab. In the Objections tab, you will see what the objection is, and you can click the drop-down arrow to see the comments. You will need to make the changes to your application, say, in this case, uploading the correct document. You'll need to enter comments in the box saying things like, I uploaded the correct document. You'll change the status from open to resolved and click update. And then you can resubmit your updated license application. And the submit application button will be changed to resubmit. Note that your application will not be reviewed again until it is resubmitted. If you upload the correct document and change the information on the Objections tab, that's not enough. You must resubmit. On the other hand, let's say your license application has been denied by the background unit. There is a new function called Reconsider, and you have 60 days from the day the application was denied to request that the application be reconsidered. You can only request reconsideration once. If the reconsideration is denied, a new application must be submitted. So what you'll do is on an application that is in status denied, you'll go to the Select Action dropdown and choose Reconsider. I should note before we get into how we do that, the 60 days is firm. If you have a reconsideration request that is in pre-filing, you must file it by day 60. If you wait until day 61, you will no longer be able to submit it. You only have one chance to request this, and it must be completed by day 60. So once you request reconsideration, the first thing you're going to need to do is actually select Save. You'll then go to the Documents tab, and there is a single new document that is required. It is a reconsideration statement or affidavit. This is your explanation of why your application should be reconsidered. Nothing else can be changed on the application. You can only upload this additional document. Now, there is no fee for submitting this reconsideration request, but much like I told you before, if you don't click Preview to File and submit the application, then you haven't completed the reconsideration process. Now, let's say we get through all of that, and now you're at the point where you can get your license. Once your license application is approved, you're going to receive an email notification to schedule an appointment. See, it says, oops, that your application has been approved and you must schedule an appointment. So you're going to log into DOB Now Licensing, and on the My Applications tab, which is the default one, you'll see that your application status will be listed as Approval Letter Sent. You need to double click on the application to open it and click OK on the pop-up. Now, in the Statements and Signatures tab, there's a new attestation that you must complete, and that is the Executive Order Attestation. You need to attest to Executive Order Memo 1 and Executive Order Memo 2. Then you'll select Save. At that point, you will see the Appointments tab show up. Go there and click Plus Schedule Appointment. Do that, and the new appointment window will open. You need to select an appointment date from the calendar, and then there's a drop-down to select your appointment time. You'll click Schedule, and then click Yes to confirm. The appointment details will then be listed on the Appointments tab. If you need to cancel your appointment, you can actually do it right from here. You can click Cancel. You'll get an email notification confirming the appointment. The licensing unit is located at 280 Broadway on the first floor, and this is in Manhattan. You must attend the appointment. You can't send a representative. And your license card will be issued at your appointment. If a picture is necessary, it will be taken during that appointment. Once you have your license, there's a bunch of things you can do to manage it. Let's talk this through. One option is you can renew your license. Licenses will expire after the term, and you'll need to, the earliest you are allowed to submit a renewal application is 90 days before expiration, and you can do it up to 1 year after the expiration date. You can also request a license be reissued. That's what you do if your card was stolen, lost, or never received in the mail. You can choose to change your named agent, update or remove the individual that you assigned to accept service of notices of violation or summonses issued by DOB. And you can update your business information. And there's a couple of additional requests that we'll talk about in a moment. But first, let's talk about each of these. In order to renew your license, you're going to go into the DOB Now licensing main dashboard and click on the button that says Renew License. Now you'll get a pop-up window with a list of all of the licenses that you have, and you need to select the one that you are renewing. And then you'll click Proceed. One option is to renew with change. The changes that you can make depend on the type of license. But if you choose to renew with change, you will specify what changes you are making, such as change business information. You can also choose a renewal without change by selecting No, and then you'll click Next. The supplemental investigation questionnaire is going to show up, and you're going to see the exact same questions you saw on the initial license application. Answer all the questions in order to submit the questionnaire. Again, the fields in the General Information tab will auto-populate based on your information from the prior license. And anything that's auto-populated cannot be changed in a renewal application. It will tell you on the General Information tab whether this is a renewal or a renewal with change. If it's a renewal with change, you're going to need to change the information. At the bottom of the tab, that's the General Information tab, you must attest to the named agent information again. I know you already did it when you did your initial application, but you must do it on renewals as well. And then you'll click Save. An application number is going to be assigned, and you'll see all the new tabs on the left panel. The information from your initial license application will auto-populate. If it is a renewal without change, you can't change any of that information. If it is a renewal with change, you need to fill in your new or updated information, upload any required documents, and you must, for both types, you need to complete your attestation on the Statements and Signatures tab. You pay your license renewal fee, and then you'll click Save and then Preview to File to review your application and then submit. The process for license renewal goes from pre-filing to pending background review to pending QA review to approved to license card issued, or I should say it will be renewal approved and renewed license card issued. The status list shows you all of the options. Once the licensing unit has approved the request, you're going to receive an email notification of that approval. And your new license card is going to be put in the mail within 10 business days. Doesn't mean you'll receive it within 10 business days, but it will be mailed out within 10 business days. Reissue license is very similar. The big difference is where you do it. Instead of clicking renew license, you're going to need to hover over the manage license button and select reissue card. I should note that what you see here is going to depend on the licenses that you have. For example, add HMO Class B ratings only shows up if you have a Class B license. You'll see the same pop-up that I showed you before with the list of licenses to select which one is going to be reissued. You'll see your supplemental investigation questionnaire show up, and you need to answer all those questions. The only thing that you will need to update for a reissue is a question on the general information tab, called reason for reissue. And there are up to 3 options. The basic ones are stolen ID card or lost ID card. Now, if you've already requested an ID card, let's say you lost your ID and you requested it, and you never received it in the mail, if you're requesting a second reissue, you'll see never received ID card show up in the reasons for reissue. You'll click save, and then you'll see an application number and the new tabs. So you'll need to fill in any new or updated information, upload any required documents, and complete the attestations on the statements and signatures tab. The fee for reissuing the license is a flat fee of $50 for any license type. Once the request is filled out and the fee has been paid, you will click save and then preview the file to submit the application. The reissue application will be reviewed by the licensing unit, and it is a QA review. Once the licensing unit has approved the request, you'll receive an email notification, and the new license card will be put in the mail within 10 business days. Both renewals and reissues will show up on the main dashboard under the My Applications tab. Let's talk about changing your named agent. I'll show you the basics of all of these in a little bit. So a named agent is any individual residing or with a place of business in the 5 boroughs that you have assigned to accept service of notices of violation or summonses that are issued by DOB. To change the named agent, you're going to hover over the Manage License button, then hover over Named Agent and choose either Change Named Agent or Remove Named Agent. Once you've chosen one of those, you're going to get the pop-up with all of your licenses. And you can select your appropriate license and click Proceed. You'll get a confirmation. Are you sure you want to change the named agent? And you'll click Yes. You'll see your existing named agent information up on the top. Existing named agent information up here. And the details about your request. And you'll enter your new named agent information and click Save. Once you've clicked Save, a request number will be generated, and then you'll need to go to the Statements and Signatures tab and click the checkbox. You'll click Preview to File, and next through all the pages of the application. If everything is good, click the checkbox to attest and click File. Named agent changes are auto-approved. There is not a review process that it needs to go through. Now let's talk about updating business information. So to update business information, again, you're going to hover over Manage License, and you're going to choose Change Business Information. You will select the relevant license, just like we saw before, and click Proceed. You'll then get into the request information. And in order to actually change the business information, you need to first click Save. Once you click Save, you will then have the plus add business information to update your information. If you already had a business there, there's also action buttons to make changes. So either way, when you click plus add business information or the edit button, the business information pop-up will show, and you need to enter all of this information and then click Save to continue. The action buttons, as I said, there's an edit button and there's also a delete button. So you can do those from the list of businesses. There are required documents for business information, and you'll need to upload those required documents. On the Statements and Signature tab, there is a checkbox you must click to attest, and then you'll click Save and then Preview to File. If everything's good, you'll check the box to attest on the final page and click File to submit the request. There is no fee for changing business information. Now, I mentioned that there were a couple of other options that were specific to HMO licenses, and those are update designations and B ratings. We'll get to B ratings in just a moment, but let's talk about updating designations. Only HMO licensees can update designations. You'll hover over the Manage License button and select Update Designations. Now, the request information is going to be auto-populated. You'll save, and then you can click plus add under designations. Enter your designation details and click save, and repeat for any additional designations. On the Documents tab, you will need to upload the NCCCO certification card for each designation. And on the Statements and Signature tab, you will need to click the checkbox to attest. You'll click Preview to File when complete. And these are what it looks like when you have existing designations. So if you have existing designations, you can update them by clicking the Edit button, or you can remove them by clicking the Delete button. Update designation requests go through QA review. Now, everything about so far showed up on the My Applications tab of the dashboard, but updating designations is considered a request, and that shows up in the My Requests tab of the dashboard. Now let's talk about Class B ratings. Once you have an HMO-B license, once your HMO-B license has been granted, you may choose to add details about a Class B rating that you have completed. And you do this by either going to Manage License and clicking Add HMO Class B Ratings, or you can do it as part of a license renewal with change. I'm going to go through how to do it in the standalone transaction because that's very similar to what you'll see in the. For the standalone transaction, you're going to hover over Manage License and select Add HMO Class B Ratings from the drop-down menu. The request type and the applicant of record will be auto-filled, including your license number. You'll enter your Class B license application number and click Save. So let me show this to you very briefly. Now, I've been auto-logged out because I've been out for a while. And in order to log in as someone else, I need to delete my browsing data. That's not something you're ever going to have to do, so I'm not going to go over it in detail. But I'm going to go into a license that has a Class B rating. Oops. And I'm going to choose Add HMO Class B ratings. There's a change request in process. I need to delete that. Oops. Let's delete that. And now we're going to add HMO Class B ratings. Took me right in. And oh, good, this has been updated. There is no field here for that I need to explain, so I won't explain that to you. You're going to go to available ratings and click plus add to enter a rating. In the window, you're going to select an available rating from the drop-down menu. You'll need to enter your exam details, whether it was on a crane or in a simulator, and some of the details about what the exam was, and then click add. For each Class B rating that you add, you are going to need to upload the exam results for that rating exam. So you'll do it the same way we saw before, where you're going to click the upload button, click choose file and navigate to the document, and then press upload. And on the statements of signature tab, there's a checkbox to attest. You click submit and then OK on the confirmation pop-up. And then it's going to go to the QA team for review. And the review goes through pre-filing to pending QA assignment, pending QA review to approved. Class B ratings will be visible on the My Requests tab. And when your rating is approved, a new license card will be issued to you. So let's finish this process in the system. So I need to click save. And then I'll click plus add. Choose the rating that I want to do. Enter all of the information. Click add. And note, I'm going to click save just to make sure everything is saved. I'm going to go to the documents, and now it asks for my rating exam results for the rating that I chose to add. And I click upload to get to that. Now, because I saved that, I'll see it show up in my requests. Now, one of the things you saw before is, let's say I need to do two things. I need to also change business information. It's going to tell me a change request is in process. You can only have one in process at a time. So it will tell you that you can't submit a new change request until the existing change request is approved. So that's just something to be aware of if you have more than one request going on. So those are the things that we talked about under Manage License. Now I want to talk about managing your profile. And that's where you go to update your name or address once you have a license that has been issued. To update your name and or address, you need to hover over the Manage My Profile button and select Manage Profile, and then you have the options of change name, change address, or change name and address. Whatever it is you choose, you'll get a confirmation pop-up. Note that this will not ask you, even if you have multiple licenses, which license it applies to, because the address and name apply to all licenses. So you're going to be brought into a new window where you'll see your existing information and blank boxes to enter new information. Once everything's been updated, click Save to generate a request number. In the Documents tab, you're going to need to upload proof. If you're changing your name, you need proof of name change, which is a current photo ID. It can be driver's license, learner's permit, state ID, green card, or passport. If you're changing your address, you need proof of residence, which can be a utility bill, a bank statement, or a lease/deed. You'll then attest to your update request on the Statements and Signature tab by clicking the checkbox. Save the request. There is a $50 fee for updating your information, and you'll need to pay that same way we talked about everything else. Once you've paid, you can preview the file. Page through your application, check the box at the end to attest, and click File. There will be QA review of your request. Once the licensing unit has approved the request, you're going to receive an email notification, and your new license card will be put in the mail within 10 business days. Before we get to a chance to ask questions, I want to talk about a couple of important notes. Once your license application is approved in DOB Now licensing, it will be added to your DOB Now profile. When the email address associated with the DOB Now profile is entered in a stakeholder section of a DOB Now filing, your name, your business and address information, your license type, and your license number from the profile will auto-populate. And the e-filing and DOB Now authentication process is no longer required to add your license information to your DOB Now account. The authentication process only applies to license types issued in DOB Now Biz options, not DOB Now licensing. Any changes to the information associated to a license issued in DOB Now is first requested and then approved in DOB Now licensing for its information to be available to you, for it to be available for use in a DOB Now file. Thank you very much for your attention. And now we have some time for questions.